What's up, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and this one I want to break down something with SPY, Tesla, and the overall markets. But just note that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Webull link. If you deposit any amount of money, you're guaranteed 12 free stocks. If you deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 in total. If you deposit $25,000 more, you're guaranteed 75. The offer ends in just 13 days. Anyways, now let's talk about the market. So I just want to mention that so far, the market's doing a good job at holding up, but we are approaching those tough resistances near all-time highs. So we'll have to see what kind of reaction we get up there. For the time being, the market does look like it may push a little bit more, and we'll be watching to see what kind of reaction we get from there. So let's first talk about some news, and I'll break down what's going on with these charts in just a few minutes. So the first thing worth mentioning is the fact that Tesla's facing an NHTSA investigation on its FSD. This is going to be affecting over 2 million of their vehicles, which date back about the past like 7 to 8 years. So this is some big news, at least for them. So that's the reason why I think some stocks like Tesla may underperform. But despite that, we also got some positive news for the broader markets. We saw Apple gap up today because their new iPhone sales are jumping in China. They're up about 20% in the first 3 weeks, according to Counterpoint and many sources like that. So it's a good piece of news, at least for now. And we'll see how things progress, at least for Apple. But so far, so good for their Chinese sales. Please remember that today is Friday, October 18th. Okay. That means that we have about 780,000 of these calls expiring, and we have a little bit over 2.9 million of the puts expiring. So that's very, very important. We have a 567 max pain with a 3.76 put to call ratio. The majority of positions are in puts, and so far, as of right now, okay, they're trying to push the market a little bit higher, but we'll have to see if the move lasts as time goes on. Now, another thing that's going to affect the market to some extent would be the fact that we have some Fed speakers. At 9:30 a.m., we have Bostic giving a speech. At 10 a.m., we have Kashkari. And at 12:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we have Waller. And then we have Bostic again at 12:30. So quite a few Fed speakers today. We'll see what they say and how this affects the markets. For a couple of pieces of news, I'm almost done, guys, with the news. Markets climbing so far, doing a pretty good job. Don't forget, Netflix had earnings yesterday. They beat on EPS and revenue, had nice guidance for Q4 with all these events coming out. And that's why, this is helping the tech sector kind of push a little bit higher. So we're doing a good job at holding up for now, but then we'll see how we end up reacting to all-time highs in these resistance areas, excuse me. So what do I see, at least for the market moving forward? Here's my personal answer. I think that for now, we are attempting to push higher and we are looking a little bit more bullish, but we have to be very careful at these levels. So let me explain. Notice that SPY loves to hold these EMAs. The 20 EMA is a support, and so is the 50 EMA right over here. So we were holding our 20 EMA bouncing off, and we came close to it yesterday only to rebound. So for now, I do see potential for us to try to push a little bit higher for the time being. But if we were to hypothetically lose 582, watch 581.5, that's our 20 EMA. If we lose this, we will turn a little bit more bearish. And I think there's a risk of us coming back down towards the 579s or below if we lose 581.5. Now, that's our 20 EMA. As long as we're above that, we are favoring the upwards direction for a push for this imbalance just under 585. If that breaks, we're looking for all-time highs. But then I would still tell you this, even if we do try to break that, be careful because every time SPY hits about 580, 585 to 586 over the last few days, we did hit those levels, and then we rejected basically. So I think that SPY, we could try to push higher. I think we're going to likely push higher once we open for 585. Maybe we try to go to new all-time highs. It's very possible we start off on that note, but be careful at these high resistance areas. We'll see how we end up reacting to the new all-time highs as it's new territory. And you have to be very, very careful at these high levels, right? Yes, we look more bullish. We could push higher, but be careful because it's going to be a tough resistance. For ES, we're riding our 20 EMA very, very nicely. If we hypothetically lose 58.85, we could turn back down towards the 58.70 area. But as we're holding support nicely, this chart is favoring upside for 5,900. If that breaks, we're looking for basically 59.15. So overall, we look a little bit more bullish on ES, and the charts are favoring 59.07, not to mention 59.15. So we still look more bullish, and we'll see what direction we end up going in. As far as Tesla goes, like I said about the NHTSA investigation that's going on affecting millions of their models, Tesla's underperforming a little bit. Despite the fact that the market's green, Tesla's a little bit in the red. I don't think the move is going to be that substantial because I think the main time for volatility is going to be Tesla's notorious earnings. But for the time being, we are very, very choppy. So I think there's a good chance that Tesla, don't forget to be watching 220 to see if we hold that. If it does hold, we could get closer to 222. If it does not hold, we're looking for 219, 217, and 215 as our supports. Tesla will most likely just chop around quite a bit today, maybe dip a little bit. We could be approaching 219 and then just continue this chop, but it's not looking that strong so far during the pre-market. For Bitcoin, we have a double top leg structure. We have resistance at 68,000. We have support at 66,000, 964. So I think Bitcoin could dip a little bit. It might pop to 68,000, maybe dip back down towards the 67,500 area and continue to trade in this range. That's the most likely case for Bitcoin. For Nvidia, we're pushing very, very nicely, riding our 20 and 50 EMAs. If we were to lose 137, we're looking for a dip back down to 135. As long as we're above 137, we are still favoring that 140 push. So this looks like it wants to push higher, especially after TSMC's earnings yesterday. We're still holding up well. So we'll see how things end up going for this, but we're doing a good job. NQ is looking more bullish. As long as we're holding our key EMAs, this is favoring the upwards direction. If we lose 20,400 flat, we're looking for a move back down. As long as we're holding up like this, we're looking for 20,500 as our target. This still has potential to push up to 20,500 plus. But one thing worth mentioning is that we had a high up here. We came down at a lower high. So do we make a lower high compared to the second high and reject, or do we break the high? I'll be watching that very carefully, look for an attempt to push, and we'll see what the move is. Same thing with the QQQ. If we lose 492.6, now we turn more bearish, and this could be dipping. As long as we're above that, we favor upside. We had a high here. We came down, made a lower high. Are we about to make a lower high? That's the question I want you guys to remember. Or do we end up breaking the high? If we break the high, we will still be in a very bullish trend. If we make a lower high again, this could be a sign that this is about to contract. Maybe pushes a bit, then rejects. So watch and see, do we make a lower high compared to these or not on the QQQ? I'll be very patient for the next couple of hours. For Apple, we look more bullish with iPhone sales improving in China. We're gapping up quite nicely thus far. As long as we don't lose 235, if 235 fails, let's look for 233. As long as we're above that, we are favoring a push for almost 238. So I think there's a good chance we try to get up there. So watch and see if that ends up being the case. As far as Netflix goes, we're doing a good job at holding up. Look at 736 as our resistance, and we'll see how we end up going. But we're doing a good job so far. For the IWM Russell 2000, we're looking more bullish as we're making higher highs and higher lows. As long as we don't lose 225, this is favoring a bigger push back up towards where the wick is in the 228.5 zone. So we're doing a good job, in my personal opinion. For Coinbase, Coinbase is basically trying to push higher. We have this resistance to watch for around this 212 area. If we were to dip and lose 207, we're looking for a dip back down towards 204. As long as we hold above that, we're looking for a push back up to 212. So I think the way Coinbase is moving, we could try to push higher for the 210 area. But be careful at this resistance because the last time we had 212, we did slow down. Amazon looks a little bit more bullish. Might dip for about 187 to try to balance. We could go a little higher for 189 and watch and see that resistance to see how it responds to this. Just like just like the QQQ, we had a high up here. We came down. We could be making a lower high here if we don't break past 189. So watch and see an attempt to get close to 189. If we don't break through that, this could be a lower high, attempt to dip. So be mindful of that. For Meta, we look more bullish. We're looking for basically 582 as our potential target. If that breaks, we're going to be looking for a breakout for 585 and 587. If we end up projecting off 582, we're looking for a dip back down. So watch and see what the reaction is. For Microsoft, we're just consolidating. It looks a little bit weaker here. Might be dipping to 415, but look for a lot of chop. And then finally, we have Google just trying to push right here. We'll see if 165 breaks. If it does break, we're looking for an attempt to get up to 167. If not, it could reject here, but look for some upside just to be safe. But with that being said, guys, that is it for my video. I want to thank you all so much for listening. I'll be back in a couple of hours for another update. Until then, have a great day. Enjoy your Friday, and peace out.